Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanandi. How many people are online? I think we just got to start mainly having classes here. Okay, so we're reading from the 7th chapter Text 4, which is a very famous verse, and I think most of you probably know it, so you may not need a book. Umirapo nalovayu kamano buddhir evacha ahankara ityame bina prakritir astada umirapo nalovayu kamano buddhir evacha ahankara ityame bina prakritir astada umirapo nalovayu kamano buddhe evacha ahankara ityame bina prakriti astada. Chant. Umirapo nalovayu kamano buddhe evacha ahankara ityame bina prakriti astada. Umirapo nalovayu kamano buddhe evacha ahankara ityame bina prakriti astada. Umirapo nalovayu kamano buddhe evacha ahankara ityame bina prakriti astada. Umirapo nalovayu kamano buddhe evacha ahankara ityame bina prakriti astada. Anyone online? Okay. Did you unlock the front door? No, okay. I was just wondering what's the noises out there.
Someone's cutting grass.
It sounded like over. Okay, it sounded like over there. Bhumi, earth. Apa, water. Anala, fire. Vayu, air. Kam, ether. Manaha, mind. Buddhi, intelligence. Eva, certainly. Cha, and. Ahankaraha, false ego. Iti, thus. Iyam, all these. Me, my. Bina, separated. Prakriti, energies. Astada, eightfold. Translation: earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether, these 8 constitute my separated material energies. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The science of God analyzes the constitutional position of God and his diverse energies. Material nature is called Prakriti, or the energy of the Lord in his different Purusha incarnations, as described in the Sattvata Tantra. Vishnostu Trini Rupani Purusha Kyanyato Vidu Ekam tu Mahata Shrastrir Dvitiyam Tranda Samstitam Tutiyam Sarva Bhutastam Tani Gyatva Vimuchate. There's some light going like on and off, or am I just seeing things? Not exactly off, but not that I'm just joking. I definitely, I'm looking down and I see something like the corner of my eye.
Should I decrease the light because it's too much?
I won't be able to see if you shut it off.
No, I said increase.
That's definitely brighter. I can see better. For material creation, this is what I just read in the Sanskrit from the Sattva Tantra. For material creation, Lord Krishna's planetary expansions assumes 3 Vishnus. Sometimes we say Sri Vishnu. There's 3 Vishnu. 3 Vishnus. The first one, Mahavishnu, creates a total material energy known as the Mahatattva. The second, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, enters into all the universes to create diversities in each of them. The third, Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, is diffused as the all-pervading Supersoul in all the universes and is known as Paramatma. He is present in the atoms. Anyone who knows these 3 Vishnus can be liberated from material entanglement. I guess there's a lot more to the purport. So let me just read this, go over this a little bit, because otherwise we're just going to forget. Bhumirapo nalo vayu kamana buddha evacha hankariti ame bina prakriti astada. Earth, water, fire, air, eat, the mind, intelligence, and false ego altogether. These 8 constitute my separated material energies. So Krishna is completely spiritual, and all his energies are completely spiritual, but they're divided up. There are material energies, just for our understanding, and there are spiritual energies. So this is all material energy. And then in the verse, my separated material energies. And then this material energy itself can be divided up into these different categories. There's earth, water, fire, air. There's one group, Earth, Wind, and Fire. Yeah, it was a rock and roll group, Earth, Wind, and Fire. Imagine that. Maybe that was their signs or something astrologically, but that was the name of the group, Earth, Wind, and Fire. They didn't have the water or the ether, the mind, intelligence, and false ego. But they're different. The mind, intelligence, and false ego are subtle. Together, you see. So anyway, these are, we should know what is, the more we learn about Krishna's creation, the more we can learn about Krishna himself. He's the one who created. I found it interesting here that about the Vishnus, that there's Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Here, one thing it says here, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, the second Vishnu, enters each into all the universes to create diversities in each of them. Now, I'm pretty sure these diversities are like the same, not exactly the same, but similar in every universe, because when Narada Muni came, when he was a boy and his mother was killed, and he just left, and he started going from one place to another, villages, mining towns, and it describes this in the Bhagavatam. And it says even in other ages, these same things are there. So I don't think that every universe has to have differences of these things, because they're the same way all the time. Why, if something works, why fix it, So we have all these universes. But within the universe, there's so many different things going on. There's the lower planets, middle planets, higher planets. So Garbhodakshaya Vishnu makes sure that all this goes on. And what does he do to make sure? He lays down on the Garbhodak ocean, actually lays down on Sheshanaga in the ocean, right? It's not just laying in the ocean. So Sheshanaga is floating, or maybe has its tail holding down the bottom of the ocean, the universe. I don't know, but he's laying there. Of course, they can float in air, they can do anything. But he's laying there, and out from his navel, creative. How should I do all this? So out from his navel comes a stem, and then goes a lotus flower, and that's pretty cool. And then it opens up, and look who's there. Somebody in this universe has 4 heads. People in other universes have 10 heads, 1,000 heads, million heads, and probably a bigger lotus flower. But he expands, and then he just somehow conveys to this being who is super intelligent, tapa, and he knows that means I should do austerities. And then for what, there was it 100,000 years or something, he performs austerities. And then during that time, Garbhodaksha Vishnu is able to convey to him what he wants done in this universe. How the heck do you start everything from nothing, from scratch? But everything is based on sound. There's subtle things. It comes from subtle to gross. We think it goes from gross to subtle. It comes from subtle to gross. So then everything is created by Brahma. But like here it says, Garbhodaksha Vishnu enters into all the universes to create diversities in each of them. So that's how he creates the diversities. He doesn't have to do it by himself. He is a very, very advanced spiritual person but maybe not as advanced as someone who's going back to Godhead. But sometimes when there isn't a qualified person, then Krishna does it himself, or Vishnu does it himself. He becomes the Brahma in that universe to do it. So the science of God analyzes the constitutional position of God and his diverse energies. So the science of God, you know what God is? What is God? Give me some definition of God.
All powerful.
All powerful. How about you, Jiva? Okay. He is beautiful. And he got something? What? I know, but I was asking you. He's talking out of line. What?
Stronger.
The strongest, yeah. Well, he has all these opulence, but it's he who from everything emanates, right? So Sava Karana Karanam. Is that? Oh. Right. So all these things. So these are some things about God. But then this also talks about his energies. Not just, this is all, we can't even conceive of him. But he also has these energies, and this is what they are. So the material creation, for material creation, Lord Krishna's planetary expansion assumes 3 Vishnus. The first one, Mahavishnu, creates a total material energy. Mahavishnu is so huge, and seems like the larger you are, at least within the universe, the slower time is. When you go into heavenly planets, I don't know if they're much bigger, 15 foot tall or something. I heard something like that. And then when you go further, and then on the heavenly planets, for one day on the heavenly planets is 6 months of our time. And one night, that's only 12 hours. One night is so one full day, 24 hours is a year of our time. A year. And they live very long. But for Mahavishnu, now first of all, the universe goes on for 100 years of Brahma, which is explained to be, I don't know, trillions of years.
432 trillion years.
Yeah, it's more than we can conceive. It's probably, is it lower than the national debt?
That's a good way to put it.
So it's not that much, but that way you can conceive of what our national debt is. But it's for an extremely long period of time, and Brahma lives that. So how many lifetimes would we have in that? In a moment of Brahma, a moment, not a second, just a moment, is a year of our time. We've seen that from when Krishna took the cowherd boys. He went away for just one moment. Then the next moment, everything has changed. You know, he took all these cows and calves and cowherd boys, and they're all there. And he's not sure. I know I did this. You know, I know it's a moment ago I put him in a cave, and now I'm coming back. And what happened? And then you all have 4 arms. And then now he's really confused. And then he realizes people may say they understand Krishna, but as far as I'm concerned, he's the creator of the whole universe. So I can't understand you at all. So this is an idea of Brahma's time, not just in one universe. Now, all the universes is one breath of Mahavishnu in his natural breathing. He's not holding his breath. He's just breathing out. All the universes come out. Billions and trillions of years go by. He breathes in. And they all go in back into him. You can't, it's just so wonderful because it's practically inconceivable, but you can kind of conceive it. And they come out of his pores. All the universe come out of his pores. And then he breathes in again, and they come in again. He breathes out, they come out. And that's the whole life of Brahma is in one breath. So we can't conceive, and he's just an expansion of Krishna. So imagine trying to understand Krishna. So we want to understand the material creation so we can understand more about God himself. So Lord Krishna's planetary expansion assumes 3 Vishnus. The first one, Mahavishnu, creates the total material energy, known as the Mahatattva. The second, Garbhodaksha Vishnu, enters into all the universes to create diversities in each of them. The third, Kshirodaksha Vishnu, is diffused as the all-pervading supersoul in all the universes and is known as Paramatma. He is present even within the atom. Doesn't say it here, but Prabhupada says even between the atoms. And of course, he's in everyone's heart. So he knows everything everywhere. Anyone who knows these 3 Vishnus can be liberated from material entanglement. Prabhupada talks about liberation so like it doesn't seem so hard. Just have to know these 3 Vishnu forms and you could be liberated. You know, not just accept it, believe it, not just know it theoretically while you're smoking your cigars and drinking some wine. Now, that much I read already. This is a new part of the purport. This material world is a temporary manifestation of one of the energies of the Lord. All the activities of the material world are directed by these 3 Vishnu expansions of Lord Krishna. These Purushas are called incarnations. Generally, one who does not know the science of God, Krishna, assumes that this material world is for the enjoyment of the living entities and that the living entities are the Purushas, the causes, controllers, and enjoyers of the material energy. That's so nice that Prabhupada says this, because it just shows that Prabhupada is in, you know, he's not at all like this, but he knows what people are like. They assume that we're here to enjoy. Why did God put us here? So that we can enjoy, so we can be happy by sense gratification. And I need to have money for that, so somehow or other economic development. So, and sometimes we pray so we can get these things because it's an illusion. But this is not the purpose of the material world. That makes no sense. I'm here to enjoy just for a short time. Of course, the people who say that this is the purpose of the material world, that it's created for that reason, because God made it for that reason. But then they also say at the end of this life, you're judged to see where you go eternally, go to heaven or hell. That's it. They don't have any. The Catholics have a place that I remember learning about, purgatory, but that's a place where you go only when you're not ready to go to heaven, but you're not that bad to go to hell. So you go there just temporarily to work off some karma, I guess. But they never said karma. But in general, you go to heaven. When they say heaven, at least when I understood heaven, God was there. But it wasn't like you're serving him. You're just enjoying. Now you get your reward for being good. That was there. So it's almost like the heavenly planets. But there was God, even though he may not have had much to do with him. He's there somewhere. Once in a while you might see him off obeisances, but that's the most, and thank him. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I mean, that's kind of their understanding. You have a different understanding.
What happens in purgatory?
Purgatory, you just stay there until you perform penance or something, and then you go to heaven. It's a temporary place.
Your idea God isn't there?
God isn't in purgatory? I don't think God's there or God's in hell. He's only in heaven. And then he doesn't really do anything. He's just an old man, too old to do much. He has a white beard. And he just is happy that there's so many people happy. And their whole happiness is all sense gratification. That's it. They enjoy like anything. Sense gratification. I mean, there was a story about a priest who died and a lawyer who died, and they both went to heaven. I mean, it's a true story. and they're taking him around, I think probably a little golf cart. I don't remember how they took him around, but that's my imagination. That's what it was. And they first bring the lawyer to his place, and they drive up this big, huge hill. And on top of the hill, there's a mansion, and it's just beautiful grounds all around. It's all part of his mansion. And the lawyer goes there, and the priest is thinking, wow, what I'm going to get, because the lawyer got this. So then they drive, and then they drop off the priest where he's staying eternally, and it's a little cottage. And the priest says, wait a minute, why I gave my whole life to God, and I'm only getting a little cottage. And this lawyer, he gets this big, huge thing on top of this big, huge hill. Why? Why is that? He says, lawyers, we hardly ever see up here. Priests up here are like a dime a dozen. I heard it was a true story. But anyway, that's their whole idea. And it makes sense. Even the joke, according to the way they think, that's what heaven is. It's just a place to enjoy, because you get rewarded for being good. But they do think that this world is for us to enjoy. That's the purpose of this world, that God wants us to enjoy. He wants us to be happy. He does want us to be happy, and he does want us to enjoy, but not in the way they're thinking with this body. That's not you. You're like inside of a machine, and you're just trying to enjoy the machine. That's not us. We're actually the soul. So he wants us, the soul, to enjoy. And that has nothing to do with all these external things. We don't have to have any of these external things. And we can be completely happy if we're completely surrendered to Krishna. So God assumes that this material world, no, not God. Generally, one who does not know the science of God assumes that this material world is for the enjoyment of the living entities, and that the living entities are the Purushas, means the enjoyers, the causes, the controllers, and enjoyers of the material energy. And we're the controllers. God made us in his image. God said that we have dominion over the animals. So the dominion means like I'm above the animals. I have a charge of the animals. So they accept it, some of them do, that because I'm in charge of them, I can kill them and eat them. It's like you're really missing a point. You have dominion. I heard this once, Kirtanananda Swami gave a class mentioning how you have dominion over your children. It doesn't mean you kill your children. You know, if you have dominion over them, you're responsible for them. They just make a mess. They see everything so much as for their enjoyment, even at the cause of so much suffering, as long as they can enjoy. So according to Bhagavad Gita, this atheistic conclusion is false. It's so nice. Prabhupada speaks, and if somebody gets this book and reads it, and it's so nice. According to Bhagavad Gita, this is an atheistic conclusion, and it's false. I'm still seeing that light over there. In the verse under discussion, it is stated that Krishna is the original cause of the material manifestation. Srimad Bhagavatam also confirms this. The ingredients of the material manifestation are separated energies of the Lord. Even the Brahma Jyoti, which is the ultimate goal of the impersonalists, is a spiritual energy manifested in the spiritual sky. There are no spiritual diversities in the Brahma Jyoti, as there are in the Vaikuntha Lokas. And the impersonalist accepts this Brahma Jyoti as the ultimate eternal goal. So it's all one. They accept that as superior to a spiritual variegatedness. They can't even conceive of it. It's because they think that the spiritual world or the spiritual atmosphere has to be the opposite of the material. Because the material there's variegatedness, that means there's no variegatedness in the spiritual world. But where do you get that? There's because how can the creation be greater than they have variegatedness, and yet then there isn't any variegatedness in the spiritual world? Where'd the variegatedness come from? This is greater. We got variety. They got no variety. Variety is the spice of life. Anybody heard that? Okay, we got 1, 2. No? No, you'll learn it sometime. Variety is the spice of life. That's what they say. So, we have variety. Everything is one. I mean, you see some movies of the future where everything is the same. Everything is one. Like I'm thinking of a very, very old movie. What the heck is the name of it? I seen it before I became a devotee. The Planets of the Apes. I think it was the Planets of the Apes, or something like that. Maybe a time machine thing, when they go back and everybody just like there's somebody drowning. When somebody went in the time machine, went back and see that somebody's drowning, screaming, and nobody's doing anything. Everyone's just enjoying. Nobody pays attention. So this person went and saved them or something, and then there's some sounds, and then they all go and they all just get fed into some kind of thing, get killed. They just, they're like zombies practically. It's all one. It's like everything is the same. It's not like that. That's not very good. I remember when I was seeing that the spiritual world was all one, and we can merge into this Brahman Jyoti when I had before becoming a devotee, I also knew that was greater than this, but yet I miss those personal relationships, because you don't have any personal relationships in the Brahma Jyoti. And I miss that. And when I learned about Krishna consciousness, I didn't follow it just because of that. But when I learned about that, I was really happy that you can actually have these personal relationships in the spiritual world. You have friends, you have family, but Krishna is the main attachment everyone has. So this oneness is not such a great thing, even though it is a spiritual understanding of the absolute truth. It's not It's not something devotees would ever want, because you can have that relationship with Krishna, even in the material world, completely inside this body. You can completely use this body for Krishna. You can completely be in the spiritual world, even in this material world, because you're completely devoted to God. You can't do that in the Brahma Jyoti. There's no service. In order for there to service, there has to be two. You can't have service if it's just one. So a devotee would rather be in hell, because even in hell, you can still serve Krishna, but you can't do it in the Brahma Jyoti. So there are no spiritual diversities in the Brahma Jyoti as there are in the Vaikuntha Lokas, the Vaikuntha spiritual planets, and the impersonalists accept this Brahma Jyoti as the ultimate eternal goal. The Paramatma manifestation is also a temporary, all-pervasive aspect of the Kshirodakshai Vishnu. So this is another aspect where he's all-pervasive, but he's everywhere, but he's a person. The Paramatma manifestation is not eternal in the spiritual world. Therefore, the factual absolute truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. He is the complete energetic person, and he possesses different separated and internal energies. So interesting that this Paramatma manifestation is not eternal in the spiritual world. So in other words, when there's no need for a Paramatma in the spiritual world. There's Krishna, everything is right there in front of you. Although, I mean, Krishna can be in our heart now. I don't know how it is in the spiritual world. I don't know if you actually have a real heart that pumps blood. I don't think so. There's no need for it. You have a spiritual body. It says that Krishna has no veins. God has no veins. So I don't think the blood is just all over inside. So for the manifestation in the material world to add this spiritual aspect of Paramatma, who's in everyone's heart, giving us advice, even though we're not listening, he's given it to us. And in the spiritual world, there is no need for that. So he's not eternal in the spiritual world. Therefore, the factual absolute truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. He is the complete energetic person, and he possesses different separated and internal energies. Separated material and internal energies. In the material energy, the principal manifestations are 8, as above mentioned. Out of these, the first 5 manifestations, namely earth, water, fire, air, and sky, or it says ether, are called the 5 gigantic creations or the gross creations, within which the 5 sense objects are included. So all our sense objects that we're trying to enjoy are in those 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. It's a mixture of different things, and that's what we're attracted to. They are the manifestations of physical sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. Material science comprises these 10 items and nothing more. But the other 3 items, these 10? How is it 10? Oh, maybe the sound, touch, form, taste, and smell, but that's not 10.
5 gross element and
Yeah. The earth, water, fire, air, and ether, sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. Okay. Material science comprises these 10 items and nothing more. But the other 3 items, namely mind, intelligence, and false ego, are neglected by the materialists. Philosophers who deal with material activities are also not perfect in knowledge. because they do not know the ultimate source, Krishna. So the philosophers, they think a lot, they have all these ideas, but they don't know Krishna, so they don't have perfect knowledge. The false ego, I am, and it is mine, which constitute the basic principle of material existence, includes 10 sense organs for material activities. Intelligence refers to the total material creation called the Mahatattva. Therefore, from the 8 separated energies of the Lord are manifest the 24 elements of the material world, which are the subject matter of Sankhya atheistic philosophy. So this Sankhya philosophy has these 24 different elements, and they just look at it in so many ways, but there's no God. So this is the atheistic Sankhya philosophy. They are originally offshoots from Krishna's energies and are separated from him. But atheistic Sankhya philosophers with a poor fund of knowledge do not know Krishna as the source of all causes, cause of all causes. Oh, as the cause of all causes. The subject matter for discussion in the Sankhya philosophy is only the manifestation of the external energy of Krishna, as is described in the Bhagavad Gita. So we, of course, are not following this atheistic Sankhya philosophy, but we do learn about these 24 different elements, but we learn them in relationship with Krishna. Read the verse again, and then if anybody has any questions. Umira po nalovayu kamano buddha evachal hankaritiam may be in a prakriti astada, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether, these 8 constitute my separated material energies. Questions? Yes.
So when the physical body dissolves, it's easy to perceive the 5 elements, they mix. But let's say after one lifetime, soul has to transmigrate into spiritual world because these destined and hierarchy is allowed. How does mind, intelligence, and false ego dissolve? Like, I cannot see it.
You can't see it. I didn't know it's even there.
In my case, I agree with you. In general, I am asking. Someone may have it. I know I am fallen, but someone. It's a serious question. How does it dissolve? Like,
Well, I
those
don't know.
elements are easy to see.
Well, I don't know if it dissolves. It can change because you have a spiritual mind, spiritual intelligence,
I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
and you have real ego. All those things are there. But you can't take this material mind, material intelligence.
Basically, it purifies the spiritual aspect. Like,
Yeah, you leave the ugly one stays here. Dirty, smelly. Mind. That's what I would think. What do you think, Jiva? I'm spiritualized. Prabhupada even says the body becomes spiritualized. If you fully engage your body, it becomes spiritualized. So what does that mean? You know? It means that Prabhupada gives the example of fire. If you have a iron rod, you put it in fire, it becomes so hot, it acts like fire. You touch something with it, it burns. So similarly, if your body is fully engaged in Krishna service, it's spiritualized. Anything it touches becomes spiritual. So if you actually touch the body of such a person, or some, you get a spiritual jolt. We've seen in with Chaitanya, Lord Chaitanya, when he went into the ocean and was caught by the fisherman. The fisherman caught him in his net, and then this fisherman touched him, and he was infused with spiritual ecstasy, but he didn't know that. He thought it was a ghost, and he was scared. Never had such a thing happen. And he's running around, and then they said, oh, one of them, I don't know, Sup Damodar, says I'm an exorcist. I could get rid of ghosts and smack them in his face or something. And wanted to know where Lord Chaitanya was. Where is this ghost, this body? But he touched Lord Chaitanya. You can imagine even touching a pure devotee. I don't think I've ever I touched Prabhupada's shoes. which is
Right.
pretty good.
Pretty damn good.
Actually, they were slippers, his slippers. But anyway, just by, so everything becomes spiritualized. Even though the body itself is left here, the subtle mind could just, the mind can just be spiritual.
I have a follow-up question on that. So please correct if my understanding is not right. Spiritual ego would be that I realize that I'm a servant of a servant, like, right? Is that correct?
Yeah,
Or your original swarupa, whatever it
Yeah,
is. Or
right.
The intelligence, spiritual intelligence would be to how I can serve the Lordship. So think about that aspect. Is that correct?
Well, Prabhupada says intelligence means to analyze things in their proper perspective. So spiritual intelligence is seeing everything in the proper perspective.
What about spiritual mind?
Spiritual mind, well, Prabhupada said mind is accepting and rejecting. That's the function of the mind. So then it just accepts whatever's favorable for Krishna consciousness and rejects what's not favorable. So do you have a spiritual mind
I have nothing.
or intelligence? Yeah, we may have a little speck of it sometimes, but we don't have it too much.
Thank you.
Oh,
So in the purport, it says Paramatma aspect is a temporary, right? That's what you discussed.
Paramatma what?
Aspect of Hirodakshari Vishnu is a temporary. It's mentioned in the purport. Right? So we just wanted to not eternal in the spiritual world.
Right.
So it is like Hirodakshari Vishnu is not eternal, or the
No, Vishnu is eternal in the
so, but,
spiritual world.
Paramatma aspect is like it's not.
That all-pervading aspect
Mhm.
is not there in the spiritual world.
This is what what is that all-pervading aspect mean?
Paramatma.
So that's what I like. Paramatma and Hirodakshari Vishnu is not same. That
What?
Paramatma and Hirodakshari Vishnu is not same.
Kshirodakshai Vishnu is the Paramatma.
Yeah, so that's what my doubt is like when it says.
Is it? Hare Krishna. Not right now. I just.
The Paramatma serves a particular function in the material world. That function is not necessary in the spiritual world.
You don't need Paramatma in the spiritual world to tell you what to do, what not to do.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm trying to understand because many times we correlate Hirodakshari Vishnu and Paramatma same, right? So that's why my confusion is that means it's not exactly same. It's some.
Paramatma is the aspect of Shiva.
So what does Kshirodakshai Vishnu do?
He's the source of all the incarnations.
But what about the spiritual? What does he do?
Besides in school, so essentially,
Okay, but what about when there's no material universe? Where does he go?
Then why would he expand? Right? It would be Vishnu. Then why would we be Vishnu? I mean, because I don't know.
I don't know either.
I'm just asking.
Maybe there's only two
Yeah.
at that time. When they go in, each goes and becomes part of another Vishnu. But how can he not be manifest? Where is he just sleeping? Maybe he's sleeping. Mahavishnu is sleeping.
In Bhagavatam it says Hirodakshari Vishnu is manifested from Garbhodakshari Vishnu, and Hirodakshari Vishnu is the source of all.
Right, but that's here. So maybe he's manifested, maybe he becomes unmanifested. It goes back into Kashira, to Garbhodakshai Vishnu. What?
now you see me, right?
I still see you.
Even if you see the Garbhodaksha Vishnu is it's available in material world only.
I know.
We don't see it
Right.
in the space called
Right.
spiritual world.
He goes back maybe with Mahavishnu.
Mahavishnu.
And Mahavishnu just sleeps for a little bit.
Even Mahavishnu is in material, right?
Well, no, he's in a certain corner of the spiritual world, but so everything is spiritual where he is, but when they come emanates these things from his body. What?
He's lying in the cautious ocean. That's what she's saying.
I don't know what that is called.
Yeah, not the,
Yeah, basically step by step. And
There is no need in the spiritual world for Paramatma because they are already living with the God.
right.
So, right from the inside.
But it's a fact. What about Garbhodaksha Vishnu? There's no need for Garbhodaksha Vishnu in the spiritual world. So it's just probably, okay, here I am. If I can do this, I can't do it yet. I'm a magician, but I can't do this. I expand myself into another form to do something. And that form expands into another form to do something. And then those things are done. So then they just come back. What are we going to just stay there? Get back, get back.
Yeah, I mean, all the avatars not necessarily eternally exist in the spiritual world, right? Like we see that universal form of
Well, that's kind of even material, it says too. So that, not that, but the others are.
The Mohini and Hamsa are temporary.
Mohini and
how
who?
about the-
Krishna, that's right.
Mohini and who?
Hamsa.
Hamsa.
Hamsa the swan? Really? Just those two?
Those are the two in the garden. But for the space, there are unlimited incarnations. Like there is
Right.
an ocean.
Right,
Someone will come.
right. But they also have like planets. Like I'm thinking of Lord Nrsimhadev. Before he appeared, that no one ever saw that form. But he's eternal. How can he be eternal? Somebody was hiding the whole time. Do you know the answer to that one?
He said something about it.
I couldn't follow the whole discussion.
Well, just about Nrsimhadev, it's himself. That Prabhupada said before, no one ever saw that form before.
Right. So it is explained that Nrsimhadev in the spiritual world exists in the 400 Vishnu form.
That's what you see
And
in that.
he is not in the lion, half lion form. So, but he like through Vishnu he comes because Vishnu is in every atom. So through Vishnu he comes and then he manifests.
So is that form eternal?
The form of
Nrsimhadev.
in the spiritual world is the 400 Vishnu. So there is
See, but it doesn't look a lot. Like if I walk by him, I'm not going to think it's
looks
a.
like half lion, it looks like Vishnu.
Oh,
But there is a like a particular planet where Nrsimhadev lives. I'm missing the name. I think Mother will be told the name of the planet. Yeah. You told me the name of it.
well, I hope everybody's questions are all answered. Anyone have a question online? Yeah, we didn't read that. Okay, so that's all for our obeisances to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you all very much for coming. And anybody online, you can come every day, I think. Yeah, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Bhakti. glasses.
You look good in this nice.
I was going to ask, do you see a font? Do you see a cloud? Do you see a
Oh, yeah. I can give it, yeah. But when I need it for decoration, you might not be.